Hello, welcome. I've got sound today, that's good. Cool. So hopefully you can hear me and will continue to hear me throughout tonight. Last week I did do a video, but didn't upload it because I fucked the sound up. But today I'm going to pick up building out the API. So last week I looked at adding a logger as an effect. Let me show the code. There we go. Adding a logger's effect. So when I'm starting servant, I now have an extra effect, which is this logger. And the logger is really simple. It just prints out log and then the log message. Nothing exciting there. But it was just a case of trying to get a second effect in place. I think that works. And now in the application itself, it takes a logger as well as the store and means we can now log something. I discovered that the order matters. So the order of things here is logger ledger server error. And the order here is logger ledger server error. So it's kind of the reverse. And then IO because it's all running under the handler. Now that I have that in place, I'm thinking today I might just look at I might just write some code. You know, the last couple of sessions, I've been trying to learn how Effectful works and build some basic effects. Today, I might just build out the API a little bit. All it does at the minute is got a single endpoint here, and it gives you back all of the ledger entries. So I might just work on that a little bit, try and avoid learning too much stuff. Although I have a suspicion that this is actually not what I want. We'll see. I'm thinking about writing some tests for this. And one of the things I'd like to do with Effectful is, for example, replace the store with some non-Postgres store, like some fixture data. Unfortunately, by the time you run servant, so we come in here and say run, it will call server, which will call serve, but in the middle of this, it calls this NT, this natural transformation. But it converts my custom monad into the handler, or wraps the handler in my custom monad, I think. And this is where I pick the effect. And that seems a little bit late to me. It seems like I want to pass the effect in from the caller of this, so that I could then call it passing in a different store. But we'll see. Maybe I won't need to do that. I just have a suspicion that it's not quite right. Okay, so with the API, we can do a bit better than that, I think. So I think we can say, see if I can remember how this works. I should have Googled this beforehand, but I didn't. But we can have a named API, and then we can say, oops, named API. I'm just going to take a mode and that. Got the word data. Named API mode is equal to named API. Oh goodness, named API to record, and it'll have a name here, which is like list, and figure out how this works. Is it something like mode and then that? See if those can be imported. So named routes comes from servant. This will come from servant. Yep. Named API is not used. New type instead of that. Okay. We can do new type, that's fine. Okay, and then here, what do we do here? So I don't think this is a type of the app anymore. I think it's now going to be API. I think. And then, oops. Then it's going to be named API No, it's not. Let me look up how to do this. I can't remember all the magic you got to type. Let me look for named routes. I've got an example in here. It does not. Haskell servant named routes, and the Twig blog is quite good for this. So we got named routes, named API, named API. That was good. I got that bit kind of right. And then the handler is named API here. No. This is named API. And it's got a list, which is going to be something. Let's give it a second. And so their app is of type application. My app is of type what? Didn't say what their application type is. Oh, sorry, their app is down here. Oh, okay, right. So it's here. And, so they have serve and all this stuff. So I think this should be named API, and then it'll be pure of that. Is that going to work? No. What's it saying here? It expects one more argument. Okay, can I say it's API? No, so I'm missing something. Is it named routes? That would be the equivalent to just saying API. That's not a constructor. I can't write that. Oh, just give me like a full code example. They kind of have here, so they have served context proxy API. So this is equal to this serve proxy. Then there's some context. I haven't got context. They've then got this type named API, and I've got this type, which is this thing. Config and my application to handler. And then it will get called with app. And what they have here is something which is returning the named API. So there's a named API here. This thing. So it expects an argument to that, and what would the argument to that be? The argument is mode, but I don't know what the mode is. So we can find an example. I want an example which has got more standard serve function. Have I got an example here? No. An example here? No. I'm sure I've seen a better example somewhere. Randomly go via Reddit. This blog post. This is the one I was just on. That's not the one I want. Nope, that's not the one either. This is annoying me. I can't quite remember how to write this handler, and I can't find a handy example. I have an example somewhere. Because I've used named routes before. We got here, we've got various things I've been playing with. Bookie has probably got named routes in it. It does not. Okay, that's no good. What else have I written? None of these look like nope. They have stuff in them. Okay. Random example. That's a YouTube video. That's not what I want to do. That's no good as well. I'm sure there was an example I've seen where it actually shows you how it works. This is very annoying. Oh, come on. Haven't got named routes. No, not really. It's a bit annoying that the servant docs don't have an example. And the codebook doesn't seem to either. But I'm sure that somewhere inside it there is an example. The structuring APIs. It's just got this, it hasn't got the named route stuff. I think there was like a blog post or something when they announced it. They gave an example. It's not it either. Overview won't be it. Custom mode won't be it, although it's getting close to where I am. The problem I have is I think we'll be okay here. trying to think what that actually needs to return. But it doesn't need to return anything. So they have server, which has got type server T, books, API, appm. So previously, what it had before, it had a list of ledger entries. Okay. And that's when this just returns the ledger entries with a single endpoint, and the only thing my application did is return ledger entries. And now when I change it to take these named routes and then use those. So it won't just be a single ledger entry, it's returning so I didn't have F. I would say something like server T, and then my API, and then their custom app. Sorry, custom monad. Which is defined somewhere there. That's reader T state handler. So my custom app is going to be F of the effects of the handler. Doesn't seem right. Yeah, that's not going to work because that can't be right, can it? So that'd be named API, and then just give it a second. And it's got list, which we can set is undefined. Okay, it's that. Right, so server T API and then F of things. I have more errors though. Okay, so how did they hoist it? They got hoist server. Let me just put $in, so it's going to make it a bit easier to read if I drop some brackets, I think. Hoist server API, which they wrote as being proxy. Okay. NT of S, so NT of their state, and I've got NT of config, because that's what I'm using. And then they call it server, I call it app. I might call it server, it's a bit of a better name. And they called this app, and I called it server. That's confusing. Okay, and now serve. Once type server T, servant API generate G to servant. This is a proxy bit. So it's proxy API. Okay. M, whereas I have G to servant, it's the same so far. Rep named API. Okay, so rather than generic as API, I've got named API servant server internal as server T M. Named routes requires generic instance for named API. Was it just I forgot to add generic? Where do they define their API? Servant named routes. I've got a type, which is their API. No, sorry, down here. You've got a type, which is named routes thingy, deriving generic. Okay. Deriving new type, no, deriving stock, generic. So let's import that. Aha, okay, cool. So it's just I forgot to derive generic from my new API. Okay, so list. I could just inline this for a second. Okay, so in theory, I think this should still run, and it should still log something saying hello, and then load the entries and return them. That's my hope. Ish. I'll build, just make sure it still builds. And then compile run. Oops. Pay me. Not that. Open in the browser. Something went wrong. Oh yes, of course. Need my environment variables. Let me go back here and reload. Something went wrong. It's not running. It's Docker running. Let's just start Docker. Give it a second. Must have rebooted since I last run this. Okay, so Docker is running. Yes, it is. Okay, try again. Look at that. Okay, cool. So I can still get to my API, and it just lists all of the ledger entries. Okay, all of them, and it logs hello. That's nice, isn't it? Okay. What should we do? Couple little things. I've got logstrip, but I actually want, I think, info goes text to logger. Will it go text, or will it go text to list of tags? Maybe go tags to that. Right. So I'm just going to do some structured logging, I think. So we can say, how do we build them up though? That's interesting. Only two things simultaneously, let's do them one at a time. So I want info, and then I can say info. We don't really care about call stack so much, but we're going to say logger and this goes text to f of effects of unit, because it just prints something out, an action. So it's going to be send info s. Is that the same as this? Yes. Okay, and then in here we can say info s is lift.io to.put string, and what will we print out? We'll say level is info. It should be quoted. I need some kind of quasi quoter, I think. But for now, let's quickly just, so level is info and message equals, and we'll join it to s. And we'll export that. Okay, so back in here, I should say logger.info, hello. And then we can say listing ledger entries. Does that work? So I'll quickly rebuild it. And then reload this. We have level info message is listing ledger entries. Okay. So that's not quite how the log should look, but it's getting closer. So we can do something like build log, or maybe mic log is what they call things, isn't it? And that's going to take a list of tuples, which are both text, and return some text. So it's going to be like a log builder. And what do we want to do? We want to take each of these, each thing in that tuple, and we want to turn it into the key quoted equals the value quoted. So we can map I'm just going to call it F, because I can't think what to call it for a second. Where F, so this is going to go from single tuple to this. So F of key and value is its quote K. You join that onto equals, and then join it onto quote V. And quote is going to go text to text. But quote, oops, is going to be equal to, and not only that, and then some value S. And that, I've called it S for string, but actually it's text. This is called X to be completely meaningless. Okay, so that should give me back a list of quoted things, like quoted level equals quoted info. And now I want to I want to join them together, I think, separated by commas, and then wrap quotes around it. Okay, so this is going to be entries, or LMs, or whatever. It's called elements. So elements in my log. And I want to, is it intercalate? Oh, what's the thing called? Intercalate. Oh, it's some text. That's what's going on. So it's text like that. Import data.text qualified as text. So if I do that, okay, so now that should give me a list of comma separated quoted level equals quoted info, message equals whatever. And now I want to wrap it in opening and closing braces. Like that. And then here, I can say mclog, and then we get a list of tuples. So it's going to be level is info, and message is S. Okay. So if I go back to here, build it. I'm just building it separately so I can clear the screen and see the output more clearly. It should be running if I reload this page now. Okay, it's not perfect because I need to, I will probably need to handle numbers at some point, non-text entries. So I just need some way of taking something and returning its loggable equivalent. But for now, I do have some structured logging, which is a start. Okay, so back to API. We're doing here, so we had a single endpoint which just loads all the entries. Maybe we can create one as well. So this is going to be a post. Well, actually a little bit more. It's going to take. It's going to end up in being a post that returns some JSON. And the single ledger entry. But actually, it's going to have a request body, which again is going to be JSON. And I can't quite remember the syntax for request body. You can start importing these. What's the type of this? It's not going to tell me. There's a couple of things it needs. One is to type. And then it's something else, isn't it? Let's have a look and see. structuring APIs. Give an example. So I'm not going to capture anything. Request body, something, and then A. And what is A in this case? It's some type. So here it'll be ledger entry. The request body is JSON. We're going to parse it as a type, which is ledger entry. And it's going to be a post request that returns from JSON, and it's going to be the ledger entry again. Okay. So post JSON ledger entry as type star, and it wanted it to be effect. That's interesting, because I don't understand why it didn't get upset there. Okay, so the example for request body is in the route example. That's just part of the URL. It's request body, blah, blah, blah. And then post JSON response. Why is it not like that? Because this is the wrong one. Okay. Right, and I have two different symbols. That mean the same, that mean different things. That's going to make life very difficult. Is that a thing? It is not. I'm not sure it's going to make my life any easier though. What about that? Not in scope at all. Okay. So can I define this? I don't know what the type's going to be. It's going to be API dot that. Can you do that? No. Right. I'm just trying to find another function or another operator which just forwards it to the right thing. Oh, that's really annoying. How do you cope with the fact that there are two things with the same, with symbols clash? Sorry, is there another name for this? Doesn't look like it. It's got some different ones, but it doesn't seem to be a name for this. Haskell ambiguous symbol. Ambiguous operator. hash. How do I find this? No. From two different modules. For alias, not quite an operator though. That's the thing. It's actually a type. So it's not valid syntax, unfortunately. Have we got a qualified servant anywhere? No. If I just import it, does it work it out? I guess that's one thing to check. Okay, it could refer to either. So I can do that. So now can I say type that is equal to servant dot that. Operator applied to two view arguments. So the type of this thing let's look at the source code. So it's not quite. Don't know how to alias this. I can qualify them all with servant, but that seems annoying. So let me go into the effects. Can I qualify this as F? So where's Effectful? Import Effectful qualified as F. So now do that, and then that, and then get rid of this import. So the only one comes from servant now. Data, and we're getting close. Okay, cool. Back to normal servant errors. Right, not what I expected. Okay, so I clash from the symbols because both Effectful and servant use this this thing. Ledger entry. Okay, so now we have a problem because there's no instance, there's no from JSON instance for ledger entry. That should be quick, I think. I can just derive that. Let's find out. From JSON. So which one does not have it? Oh, it's not imported. Okay, cool. That's better. And then that gets rid of that error. Good. getting closer. Okay, so we have an undefined here, and actually what we really want is something to store. So we had somewhere up here, we had load ledger, and we want create ledger entry. Ledger store M and what we're going to return from it, I guess just a single ledger entry. So I guess returning the thing you passed in. And this is create ledger entry. It's going to be lift.io, and this is create indb config. This is an argument, so it's going to be ledger entry. ndb config ledger entry. It's not happy. No arguments was given one. Right. So we're going to ledger entry to that. Okay, this doesn't exist yet, but I can just start to create it. Got it roughly right. Okay, so given the config, let's get rid of this line from before. We get our connection pullback. And then we say with resource pool, we'll give it a single connection. And then we can say execute, is that right? No. Oh yes, I'll execute the import list of that. Okay. Give me the type of execute. That's what I'm looking for. So it takes a connection, a query, and returns the ID. We want that version of it because we're going to have some arguments. So now this will take the connection, the query, the rows, or the values that we're going to interpolate, and then returns an ID. Okay, cool. So connection we have, query is going to be something like insert into ledger entries. I can't remember what this looks like. I can just grab this. There we go. Values, and then we're going to give it a list of values. Actually, I might change this to return unit. Just briefly, I'll fix it later. This is going to be an entry. Okay, and the entries are going to be entry.id, entry.amount, and entry.datetime. Okay, let me just check that away. And the syntax and pattern should be right though. Okay, so we throw that away and we just say pure of unit. Okay. So now what's upsetting it? So we have a UUID, we have an integer amount, and we have a time. And here I'm saying insert into this ID amount data times values, enter ID. So this is UUID. Couldn't match int64 with UUID. Writing from selecting the field amount. Couldn't match int64 with UUID. Why would it try and be? Why does it think it's a UUID? Have I got the syntax right? This is PostgreSQL simple, I think. Oops. And the thing I'm looking for is execute. Have we got an example of that? Insert updates, whatever. Times number was affected. And throws this thing. And at the top, has it got some examples? Writing queries. That's running select. That's running select. That's selecting. All selecting. Insert below. Oh, I need to do values question mark. Right. My bad. So it's question mark. And it's a list containing a single tuple. They've got execute many. Right, okay. There's not a list, it's just a tuple. There we go. Okay, so execute a connection, insert into ledger entries these things, and then return nothing. And it returns a number of rows modified, which I'm just ignoring. We'll return the ledger entry again. Seems a little bit silly, but it just makes writing the API a little simpler now to return the value, and then in future, if I modify the value, so if I add anything to it along the way, I can return it back to the user. Okay, but that should have added, I don't think I need that anymore. Anyway, this should have added a new function. Has it though? No. So send or create ledger entry. Send create ledger entry. Got arguments. Create ledger entry. Don't care what the call stack. And this goes from ledger entry to that. Oh, and it returns a single ledger entry, not a list of them. Okay, and we're exploring everything, which is probably not quite what I'm going to do, but I'll leave it for now. Okay, so back in the API, here, I should have some kind of entry. And I can say create ledger entry. It comes from store. Create ledger entry. But then I can say logger.info. Oops. Creating ledger entry. Why can't I do that? Oh, because there's an argument. So I get rid of that. Ledger entry. But can't say that. I have to say this. Okay. So create is a function. It takes a ledger entry, logs it, and stores it. Okay. Don't know what I wanted to get ready to do and replace it with sequencing, but anyway, I did. Right then, so let's go back to here, think about build. UID gen. Just need a random UID for when I create something, if it works. And then compile run. I don't think I copied that properly. Let's try it. Okay, so back to here. Do I have any kind of helpful plugin, Postman-like plugin? I do not. None of these are any kind of RESTful interface. Okay. Curl. Minus X. Minus data. There we go. Okay, application JSON data. This is when I was doing bookie. but I can just post to 8080, and the data is going to be ID is that ID I just generated randomly. Amount can be 374 randomly, and the date time, I have to be careful of the format here, so I'll just copy one. Copy it. Okay, and we will make it 2024 0808. 08, and the time is fine. Okay, give it back to me. So it says it's created it. We reload this. There we go, new entry in there. Okay, cool. So I've added a new endpoint in here for creating a ledger entry, which is good. I think next time I'll try and install something in the browser which lets me send structured JSON requests rather than just trying to get them into curl. But anyway, fine. So adding things to the effect I have, the ledger store is fine, and also adding them to the logger seems to be fine. Now I've got this structure in place. So I guess I can just keep working through this and more endpoints, flesh out the ledger entries to add an account ID and add the concept of accounts, but just generally start to fill this out a little bit rather than just spending all of my time playing with Effectful. But yeah, that's the plan for next week. So thanks for watching along, and I will hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.